Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo
Om Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam
Namaskritya
Namaskritya
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato
Devim
Jayamudiraye. Shinvatam Swakatah Krishna Punyashravana Kirtana Hridyam Pasto Hiya Bhadrani Vidhunoti Sahrit Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So Hare Krishna everyone, welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam second canto. So second canto is titled The Cosmic Manifestation. How at a higher level, how the creation was done, the primary creation. So that is the overall topic. How Krishna is the source of all creation is explained here. The process of creation, the cause of all causes. So the first chapter is titled The First Step in God Realization. So we'll discuss this chapter now. So it has 39 verses. The first section that we'll discuss is superiority of bhakti. How bhakti is superior to Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga. And how quality of life matters. Even if a person spends a moment of life in pure devotion service, that is superior to living for thousands of years. That is, discusses the Khatwang Maharaj episode. So that is this. And also it discusses Ashtanga Yoga for attaining liberation, because it is also a process, valid process, a valid yoga system that is discussed, even though that is not recommended, but that is discussed. So to set the context, one of the questions that Parikshit asked Sukadeva Goswami in the beginning of Canto 1 as well as towards the end is, what is the ultimate duty of a person, of every person, of everyone, right? And especially for the one who is about to die. Specifically in terms of action, what should he hear, what should he chant, and what is the thing that he should smaran or remember, right? And also what he should not be doing. These are the questions that Parikshit Maharaj asked towards the end of the 19th chapter in first canto. So this canto begins with answer to this question: what is the ultimate duty, especially of a person about to die? So as usual, with such spiritually inquisitive questions, Sukadeva Goswami praises this question first. Because it not only benefits Sukadeva Goswami, but also it benefits everybody. Entire human race or entire world will benefit from such questions, because it discusses the topic of Krishna, who is the highest subject matter. So he praises that, right? So in the modern world, if you see, generally, for example, especially in India, You go anywhere, you will see big, big billboards of people who cleared IITG, whatever competitive exams that are there. We only see people who clear the exam, who wrote the best answers. But to test or gauge the ability of the student, even the person who is setting the question paper should be of great standard. But never they praise a person who asks the questions, right? That is the modern culture. We don't at all remember or appreciate the questioner, who is also very must be very knowledgeable and must be very mature to ask the right questions that can gauge the the ability in the specific age group. It must take a lot to do that as well. But in the modern world, we don't see such appreciation for asking good questions, right? Because that is the material culture. We only look at the people who answer the question we praise. Neither there was any respect between the questioner and answerer, right? So what we can see in the spiritual culture, Sukadeva Goswami was very, very appreciative of Parikshit Maharaj's question, because they are all related to the supreme benefit of every living entity, right? So he answers by first talking about Grihamedi. The term is defined, who is a Grihamedi. So he will begin by answering what one should not do, right? And he talks about Grihamedi, a person who is focused on many things outside devotion service, chanting, hearing, and remembering everything else except devotion service. So his day is wasted working hard, and at night spending sex and sleep, right? So we'll discuss these verses. So invocation verse is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namaste
Bhagavate.
Vasudevaya.
Please read the translation.
O my Lord, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you.
Continue, bro.
Vasudeva means to Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. Since by chanting the name of Krishna, Vasudeva, one can achieve all the good results of charity, austerity, and penances. It is to be understood that by the chanting of this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, the author or the speaker or any one of the readers of Srimad Bhagavatam is offering respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasure.
Because chanting of Krishna's name is all powerful, especially in Kali Yuga. This is the method of achieving highest perfection, right? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. Krishna was remembered as the son of Vasudeva, his birth-giving father, Vasudeva. Because Lord really loves to be remembered with his relationship with his devotees, in relationship with his devotees. Because he has affectionate father, so by remembering him with his dear relations, one will please Krishna. So that was the concept here. So before beginning the discussion, most respectful obeisances are offered to Krishna before. Yeah. Please read.
In the first verse, Sukadeva Goswami replies to the questions of Maharaja Parikshit, who asked him about one's duties at the point of death. Maharaja Parikshit was glad to receive Sukadeva Goswami, and he was proud of being a descendant of Arjuna, the intimate friend of Krishna.
So he will ask about duties at the time of death, especially. Right? So that, because that is very relevant for him. Yeah. So this is also the nature of a rishi or muni. A muni or a rishi is not just concerned about his own welfare. By asking this question, he is actually interested in the welfare of everyone. Because the answer to this question will benefit all the living entities, not just not just Parikshit Maharaj. So therefore he welcomes this question, right? Yeah, let's read the verse 1. Sri Shuka Uvacha
Sri Sukhovacha
Kavacha.
Variyan Esha Te Prashna
Variyan
Esate prashna
Krito Loka Hitam Ripa
Kritalo
Krito loka hitam nupa
Atmavit Sammata Pumsam
Atmavi
Atmavit
Shrotavyadishu Yah Para.
Shrutavadishu yaha para.
Yeah. Please read. Anyone?
Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, your question is glorious because it is very beneficial to all kinds of people. The answer to this question is the prime subject matter of hearing, and it is approved by all transcendentalists."
Because the prime subject matter is Krishna. And all transcendentalists, whether one is a gnani or one is a yogi or a bhakta, everybody approves this, because ultimate benefit is achieved only when one practices bhakti. Whether you are a gnani or yogi, you have to perform bhakti to achieve perfection. Yeah. So Sukadeva Goswami appreciates Parikshit Maharaj's question. Yeah. Please read.
Even the very question is so nice that it is best subject matter for hearing. Simply by such questioning and hearing, one can achieve the highest perfectional stage of life. Because Lord Krishna is the original Supreme Person, any question about him is original and perfect. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that the highest perfection of life is to achieve the transcendental loving service of Krishna. Because question and answers about Krishna elevate one to that transcendental position, the questions of Maharaj Parikshit about Krishna philosophy are greatly glorified. Maharaj Parikshit wanted to absorb his mind completely in Krishna, and such absorption can be affected simply by hearing about the uncommon activities of Krishna. For instance, in Bhagavad Gita, it is said that simply by understanding the transcendental nature of the Lord Sri Krishna's appearance, disappearance, and activities, one can immediately return home back to Godhead and never come back to this miserable condition of material existence.
So which verse is this? Janma karma chame divyam, right? Janma karma chame divyam yevam yo veti tattvataha chaktva deham punar janma naitima meti sarjuna. Right? So one who understands janma, karma and activities of Lord, upon completing this lifetime, he will not need to return back to this material world, miserable material world. So, so to understand appearance, disappearance, and activities of Krishna, so by understanding that, one actually gets complete liberation from material existence. So for that, there should be a good platform for hearing, right? There should be an opportunity created so that one can hear the glorious pastimes of Krishna, right? Glorious activities of Krishna. So by asking the questions about these subject matters, right? About the appearance of Krishna, about activities of Krishna, pastimes of Lord, and philosophy of Krishna. So, by asking these questions, Parikshit Maharaj is creating an atmosphere or a system whereby one can hear about these in more depth. By hearing about these, one can start remembering smaranam, right? And when one remembers, then he achieves highest perfection. Right? So Lord Chaitanya said that the highest perfection of life is to achieve the transcendental loving service of Krishna. Premapu Martamahan, right? So the highest goal of human life is to achieve the love of Lord. That is the highest goal. It's not about achieving liberation. Instead, achieving the loving devotion service to the Supreme Lord is the highest goal of human life. So that is possible. How can you love somebody? Only when you have great respect for his personality. And when can you develop that love for the personality? Only when you know about the personality. How do you know? You will know only when you hear, right? So hearing is the basis for development of love for Lord. So the love begins with hearing about the person. Even in the material world, how do you love someone? Because you heard good things about the person, right? You heard about good nature of the person, good activities of the person. So then you develop naturally the love for Lord. Same thing applies here. So the more we hear, the more we chant, the more we glorify, the more we develop love for Lord. And any any arrangement that makes or gives us the opportunity to hear about the Lord is a glorious opportunity. So that is why Sukadeva Goswami is praising this line of questioning.
Prabhuji, question. How is the hearing is different than reading Prabhupada books?
How is hearing different than reading?
Yes, Prabhupada books.
Yeah, Swadhyaya is also a form of hearing only, because when you are reading, you are actually reading the words of Prabhupada. It's as good as Prabhupada speaking to you, right? So Prabhupada said hearing and reading are equivalent. The only advantage of reading is you can analyze, you can write your own notes, you'll have a lot of time. Hearing, we may not have a lot of focus on the right. Yeah. Just like when we also hear lectures, we also write notes or read textbooks in regular subject matters. Both are equally important. Yeah, so this is another powerful line. As long as one is engaged in hearing such transcendental activities of Krishna, he remains aloof from the conditional life of material existence. Yeah. So the topics are so auspicious, they purify the speaker, hearer, and inquirer. Everybody will be purified. Right? They compare to Ganges, which flow in the toe of Lord Krishna. Right? Ganges, wherever it goes, it purifies them. Similarly, Krishna Katha or the topics of Krishna are so pure that whenever they are spoken, the place, the hearer, the inquirer, the speaker, and all concerned will be purified. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, the opposite is going to be described here. Srotavyadini Rajendra.
Srotavyadini Rajendra.
Rinam Shanti Sahasraha.
Nranam
Shanti Sahasrasa.
Apasyatam Atmatatvam.
Apasyatam Atmatatvam.
Griheshu Grihamedinam.
Gruhesu Grahamedinam.
Yeah. Please read.
Those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, have many subjects for hearing in human society, O Emperor.
Hmm. So for those who are not attached to hearing Krishna pastimes, there are so many other subjects, right? There are so many news articles every day, they come afresh, right? And the middle world is all geared toward giving breaking news or something that uh, attracts the attention of the conditioned soul, right? There are so many things like that, so many subject matters that will keep them engrossed in the material existence. So people who are not inclined, they have so many varieties of subjects. Like there can be so many clubs, so many interests, so many activities that can distract one's attention, right? Uh, so we see so many interests in this material world, right? Somebody is interested in stamp collection, somebody is interested in collecting so many things, somebody is interested in visiting places. This way, there are so many varieties basically, right? And there's so many business exists because people have so many varieties of interest, right? So many want to buy things, whether it is clothes or food. In this way, it's all variegated. Material world keeps material consciousness engaged in various ways. Yeah, please read.
The grihasthas are those who live together with wife and children but live transcendently for realizing the ultimate truth. The grihamedhis, however, are those who only live for the benefit of the family members, extended or centralized, and thus are envious of others. The word medhi indicates jealousy of others. The grihamedhis, being interested in family affairs only, are certainly envious of others. Therefore, one Grahamedi is not on good terms with another Grahamedi, and in the extended form, one community, society, or nation is not on good terms with another counterpart of selfish interest. In the age of Kali, all the householders are jealous of one another because they are blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth. They have many subject matters for hearing political, scientific, social, economic, and so on. But due to a poor fund of knowledge, they set aside the question of the ultimate miseries of life, namely miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease.
Hmm. Yeah. So Graha Medhi means one who is envious of other, right? Grihastha means one who centers his life on uh, God, right? With family, right? So Grihastha. Grahamedi means one who is very selfish. I, me, and mine. Whatever they do should either benefit them or their extended relation, family relation. Because they're all so their thinking is that maybe the relatives will protect them at some point. In the next verse, it will be discussed. So ultimately, one should have a faith that otherwise, why should they do? Why a grihastha or grihamedi is so much interested in family life? Because they think that ultimately this family is going to save me at the time of death. But unfortunately, nobody can save from the clutches of death. So they have many subject matters of hearing: political, scientific, social, economic. Right? But unfortunately, because of their poor fund of knowledge, they do not prioritize questions of ultimate miseries of life, namely miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. These are the four real problems of life, right? Birth, death, old age, and disease. Yeah. Yeah. So the ultimate solution is to the problems of life is to go back home, back to Godhead, right? So that is the only real solution. As long as one is in the material existence, these problems will be there. So any amount of adjustment in the material world will not save us from these four real problems. Yeah. And the process is to hear about the name, form, nama, rupa, guna, leela, right, of Supreme Law. So this is the only way to go back to Godhead. But if you ask anybody, what do they say? If you ask any person, hey, why don't you, come to temple and, chant Hare Krishna and perfect your life? What do they say?
What would I get?
It's no time.
No time. Yeah. Because
And I've seen people, sorry Prabhuji, I've seen people who say, Shraddha to dil mein honi chahiye, you should have the bhakti in the heart. It doesn't mean coming to temple means that, you have bhakti. You should have it in the heart. That is more important. I've seen people telling me that also.
yeah, that is true. How do you answer them?
भगवान कण कण में है तो
Some-
या टेम्पल में आने की क्या जरूरत है
We have bhakti in the heart. Why to come to temple? Yeah, that's a good logic. What do you answer now?
Something Prabhuji I heard, I think from long time back from one of the visiting Maharajas, right? He said that we all love our kids, we love our family, right? We love our spouse. You hug your spouse, and you kiss your kids. You show the love and affection, right? The same way, right? You should show your love and affection to the Lord also. And there are different ways of doing it, right? Depending upon whether you are like a Uttamadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, or neophyte devotee, or not even there, right? There are different ways of doing it. So everyone does it as per of their time, place, circumstances.
So your point is one should express one's love, right? Not just I love you, I love you. If you don't really show anything in your action, then what is the meaning of the law? Okay.
Yes.
Any other points? Any other
We
points?
we have invited Lord to the temple,
Mhm.
so it's kind of a manifest vigraha there.
Okay, but they may not have that faith, no? So if so,
Unmanifest vigraha everywhere.
Mhm.
One, and then it's like a temple is a power station, and in house or everywhere is a small bulb of energy. But in power station, you get more energy.
Okay, that's an interesting point. So I would say like this.
But having the love in the mind means it's just temporary and flickering all the time.
Yeah.
And you easily get swayed away with Maya and different directions. But
Yeah.
by the virtue of us keeping the flame going on is by going to the temple, associating with devotees, reading scriptures, chanting. That's how we keep the flame on.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that flame will be gone, right? So
Correct. Yeah. Because everywhere else, material energy overtakes us. We often seek the satsang of devotees so that we keep that fire on. Otherwise, if you leave it for natural flow, our consciousness always on the negative path. It always goes down. So one point you can add is why you have to, come to temple and see Krishna there. Yeah, because for example, in your home also, the television signal is everywhere. But you have to tune your frequency of the remote to a certain degree so that you can actually watch a specific program, correct? Even though everywhere it is there, you still have to tune your focus, your frequency so that you get a specific thing that you can see and experience in your television. So similarly, even though God is everywhere, for us to experience the manifest form, in the manifest form, one has to invite the Lord and to the deity form, and from there he manifests his full energy. Just like a television helps you to manifest the frequency that is everywhere, which you cannot experience outside, but you can experience in the device. Similarly, the divine energy can be experienced by us because of the form of Vigraha that is present there. And God acts through the Vigraha. God, works through the Vigraha. So that is one way you can say, just for like comparative example for people in general, right?
Also, Prabhuji, if you look at neophyte devotees, Kanishta Adhikaris, they need to get streamlined. They need to get into the groove of going to a place where they can see the Lord and get the vibe. Whereas as the devotee progresses from being a Kanishta to Madhyama, he realizes that yes, now I have understood, I've come to the platform. Now let me try to bring the same atmosphere in my house by installing deities. I'm serving the deities day and night. So it's also one of, I mean, it depends on the maturity of that person, where he is and how he is progressing. Am I
Very
right, Prabhuji?
correct, yeah. So especially as a neophyte, one can it's easy to see Krishna in the deity form, right? When his consciousness expands, then he starts seeing people around him, the devotees around him, and acknowledging, oh, they are devotees and they have a relation with Krishna, right? First, it starts with relation, only begins with Krishna, right? This is the definition of a neophyte, actually, who sees only the divinity in only Vigraha and not in the devotees around. But as he advances, he will see devotees of Lord also in relation with Krishna, right? And then, yeah, as the next level, they will bring God to their home. That is, installing deity at their home and then serving them personally. So that those are the next levels of advancement. Yeah. So other question many people ask is, why should you even perform devotion service? Why can't you, just do what you like to do? Why do you have to give your time and energy to it? What do you all say? Why perform chanting? Why spend so much time in all these activities? Right? We are discussing here. We need to hear, we need to remember, we need to develop love for Krishna. But somebody says, why should I even do all this? I feel more happy when I watch television or when I watch movies. Why should I engage in devotion service? What do you say?
For the eternal happiness.
For the eternal happiness, yeah.
So
Because every time, whatever activities we do, we get temporary happiness, and after that, misery again starts. Again, we search for happiness. Again, we keep doing it. So, if we want a permanent happiness, that's a one point. Yeah, Prabhu.
Yeah.
So, Prabhuji, my 2 pence on this is, if you look at every living entity, especially human beings, they always look for protection. Like a child looks for a protection from his father or from a family. Similarly, we all individuals, we want someone to whom we can look up to and feel protected. This is also one of the reasons. Sometimes, people may call it as a fear, but I would not say it's a fear, but it's more of, taking the shelter that, okay, there is somebody who will take care of me when I get into difficulties, whether, materially or even if I'm spiritually progressing. Yes, there is someone who will look into it and who will stand besides me.
Yeah, that is very true, actually. Yeah. Everyone is looking for shelter, somebody who they can depend upon and that they can find in, in God, right? Yeah. So that's one thing. First thing is, anytime any of these random questions come, why they're asking, we should ask. Why they're asking this question? The real problem lies in their worldview of things. Worldview means what they think is the truth of life, right? Perception of reality. The perception of reality of most of the people, without, I would say, ignorant of spiritual life, is they think that this body is the ultimate, body is their self, right? The true self is body. they are completely ignorant of the existence of soul itself. That is the core reason for their expressing in so many ways what they say. So first we should ask, hey, do you know who you are, first of all? What, and then make them think about, do you want to die? No, I don't want to die. Why? Because I don't know, I don't want to die, they said. Because you are a spirit which doesn't want to die. And then do you want to be happy? Why? Why you want to be happy? If you are just this body, why you don't want to be unhappy? Body is material. Material has no pain or gain. So why? So the real core reason for their all these questions is the ignorance of the identity. So introduce about the identity, the soul, the self that has these characteristics of eternality and Ananda, Satchidananda features. And then tell them, hey, do all these activities, but they are like fish out of water. You give it, nice food, nice bed. Fish is not happy outside the water. Fish is happy only in the water. So similarly, the jiva, the spirit soul, only is truly happy when it is in unison with the Supreme Spirit, Krishna. You can be truly satisfied. That is the reason we do all these activities, because that really satisfies the heart. Because that is, you need to feed your soul. You are feeding your body, but not feeding the soul. You're feeding the cage, not the bird. That is the reason why we are doing all these activities, because all these activities are actually feeding the soul. You need to feed the soul. That's what I believe should help understand people, where they're going wrong. We should think from their perspective. What is the thing that they're missing, that they're putting all these arguments, right? And if you ask them, forget about all these questions. They'll ask, why Krishna did all these activities, why he did, he killed Karna in the wrong way. All these arguments they put. First of all, ask them, do you know who you are? What are you? First understand those things and then go to the other questions. Don't even talk about those higher subjects until you understand the fundamental truth about yourself. Yeah. So we can put such point. We should ask. We don't need to answer by answer question. We may not have immediate answer because they have a lot of context missing. If you answer in any way, it doesn't touch them because the core premise is wrong from which they're arguing. So that's why Prabhupada always focused on most of the journalist questions. Prabhupada brings them to the concept of soul, because that is the missing context for like a lot of the questions that people in general ask in the modern times, right? So always ask them,
One point, I mean, just from argument purpose, because sometimes when I talk to people, I tell them it's all about eternal happiness, bliss, and all this. They'll say, okay, they will argue in Hindi. They'll say, what happiness are you talking about? You are telling get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, don't eat onion, garlic, meat, no liquor, don't go to party, don't go to movies, don't do anything to think about Krishna, go to temple, do service, come back. What happiness are you talking about? Is this the life? I don't want this kind of life. I'm happy the way I am. That is what they would say.
Yeah. So that is the argument they put, because they think this is all to it. Actually, they don't see the happiness of the soul in the whole concept. Their idea of happiness is wrong. First of all, they think, the happiness that one can experience is of the body only, right? Eating satisfies the tongue. Touching satisfies the skin. Seeing beautiful things satisfy the eye. Their definition of happiness is all sensual. Now, the happiness that we are looking after is all spiritual. the satisfaction of the heart, the tears that one gets when one is deeply meditating on the form of Lord, those are much far deeper happiness that one cannot understand at a material level, right? Those people have zero understanding of that, right? So we should clarify. What you're talking about happiness is at the bodily level. What I'm talking about is at a spiritual level. So first you need to understand the premise. Just clarify. It's not that I'm trying to escape. So how can any person give up all these things for a lifetime without experiencing any happiness? It's impossible, right? You all have gone through this, but now you're able to give up only because there is a higher happiness in your life. Otherwise, how can you give up forever, right? So you should explain like that. See, as a child, I was playing toy with lot of toys. I was able to give up only because I have experienced higher games or higher things in life. Otherwise, there is no way I can give up lower things. So it is a matter of understanding what is higher, what is lower. Many people, their scope of happiness is limited, or their understanding of what is happiness is limited, because most people have no idea of spiritual life and spiritual happiness. So we have to explain the other dimension, the higher dimension of life. Then they will hopefully understand. At least they should be open to idea, whether they accept it or not. If they're open-minded, they should at least acknowledge it. If not, accept it, right? And if they want to accept it and want to try it for themselves, they can also, come to temple and try a few things and see how it works for them. So there is no force, just a
Prabhuji, one question here. So when the materialistic people like ask this question, they may not understand even what is bhakti or like the spirit soul. So to bring to that level, like we might need to help them understand in their own terms and language, right? So how do we just help them elevate that? So in first conversation, whenever like I discuss, like they don't understand, okay, what is soul? Like they kind of, oh, okay, no, there is nothing, something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, like we have the concepts in Discover Yourself course, which will logically explain them. How there is body and there is soul in every living entity, right? Without the soul, the body is just a dead matter. So we give those concepts one step at a time. We have like 6-7 classes that cover in depth in a logical way. Once they understand those concepts, right, they can ask so many questions during those classes. They will steadily understand, right, that they are not this body, and there is a higher self, right? So once they catch that one point, it's like accepting zero. Once you have accepted zero, or say negative number, lot of math, your scope of doing math expands, right? So similarly, once they accept certain premises, which may not be an experience for them right now, but logically accept it, their door opens to higher understanding of life, right? So there are the few premises they have to accept. And one good course is Discover Yourself, whereby they can learn these concepts in a logical way.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So let's read the next verse. Nidraya hriyate naktam
Nidraya kriyate naktam
vyavayena chavavyaha vaya
vayena chavavaya
devachardhehaya rajan kutumba bharanena va.
kutumba bharanena va.
So further explanation of Grahamedi's life is given here. Yeah, please read. Anyone?
The lifetime of such an envious householder is passed at night either in sleeping or in sex indulgence, and in the daytime either in making money or maintaining family members.
Now, this is the typical life of a Grahamedhi, a person who has no devotional life, right, or spiritual life at all, right? Envious householder, because they're always envious of others. If anybody has better things than themselves, they become insecure, and so they become envious. So they basically, in the night, to relieve their anxiety, they indulge in sex, and in the daytime, primarily business is making more money and taking care of family. That's all. They don't see anything beyond their own family and their own needs, right? So enjoying and selfish endeavors to make money. So these are the only things they perform. Yeah, please continue.
The present human civilization is primarily based on the principles of sleeping and sex indulgence at night, and earning money in the day and spending the same for family maintenance. Such a form of human civilization is condemned by the Bhagavata school. Because human life is a combination of matter and spirit soul, the whole process of Vedic knowledge is directed at liberating the spirit soul from the contamination of matter. The knowledge concerning this is called Atma Tattva. Those men who are too materialistic are unaware of this knowledge and are more inclined to economic development for material enjoyment. Such materialistic men are called karmis or fruitive laborers, and they are allowed regulated economic development or association of women for sex indulgence. Those who are above the karmis, that is, the jnanis, yogis, and the devotees, are strictly prohibited from sex indulgence. The karmis are more or less devoid of Atma Tattva knowledge, and as such, their life is spent without spiritual profit. The human life is not meant for hard labor for economic development, nor is it meant for sex indulgence like that of the dogs and hogs. It is specially meant for making a solution to the problems of material life and the miseries thereof.
Human life is a great privilege. It's very rare to have human form of life. So one should not waste it like dogs and hogs. Because these facilities that are described here, either sleeping or sex indulgence, they are there even for animals. So, but if you look at animal life is far more difficult. Even to get their food is very difficult, right? For example, animals like tigers, they have to hunt every day. Otherwise, their food is not there. They have to kill. Or if you are like a deer or stag, you will be killed anytime in the forest. There is no security. In the modern world, even cows are killed after certain age. Bulls are killed. Even the domestic animals do not have any security or any safety. Right? Only dogs are protected in the modern world. So animalistic life is full of miseries, right? Whether it is birds or beasts or snakes or any animals, life is very tough because that is how it is designed. But only human life, it is much easier, much convenient, and he has much more developed intelligence and faculty of intelligence that can be used in inquiring higher truths. Our sleeping, our food, and our relations, everything is far more refined than animals. And so if after having such facilities, if one is engaged in activities like that of animals in terms of deriving happiness as a Grahamedhi, then we are leading a life no better than animals. So we might as well get another animal life in the next life. So it is, it is our duty as a human, having human form of life, we should endeavor to perfect our life spiritually, right? So this is repeated instruction in Kapil Muni's instruction to Devahiti, in many places. Yeah. So human life is a rare privilege. One should not misuse it. Because ultimately, even if you improve your material situation, the result is going to be temporary, right? So it should not be wasted that way. The summary of materialistic life is given in this verse. Further explained about Grahamedis only. Deha patya kalatradis
Deha patya kalatra des.
Atmasainye swasat swapi
Atma Sainaishwa
Tesham pramatto nidhanam
Tesham
Pashyan api na pashyate. Yeah, please read.
Persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. Although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction.
So the Grahamedis, they know by experience, they have seen their parents die, their grandparents die, they see all their relatives die. Irrespective of seeing all of that, they have the faith that their family, their children, their wife, they will protect them at the time of death. So that was the faith they have. So they put all their energy in improving the condition at home better and better. So that's their faith. Right? Everybody has some faith that is driving their action. Why they should work so hard to maintain family and home? Because they have the faith that when nothing comes to secure me, the family and wife, children, they will protect me. Yeah. So they are their guardians of life. But unfortunately, it's a fallible soldier. Fallible soldier means a soldier is destined to die. Right? Ultimately, they are all going to end. Right? All our family relations will have to end one day. Right? What happened to all the people who lived 100 years ago? There are rich people, poor people who had a lot of relationships, who had built big homes. What happened to all of them who have lived 100 years ago from now? They all died, gone with the wind. So same thing with us. After 100 years, none of us exist. All these homes, everything is gone. So it's a cycle. Every time will take away everything. Even though we know, we see, we experience, but we still have that blind faith. So once Yudhishthira Maharaj was asked by Yaksha about what is the most surprising thing in this material world, he answers the same thing, that a person sees that everyone around him is dying and everyone is destined to death, but he thinks that he can live forever. Right? False hope. So this is the most surprising thing in this world, because Maya covers us so like without creating any doubt. Right? We may have some slight doubt here and there, but everyone just believes that they are going to be here, their family, husband, wife, children, they'll protect them. And so there is sense of security in the things of material existence. Yeah, but inevitable destruction can happen any day, right? Any time. So one time, one of the lecture, when Maharaj was explaining how sometimes fishes in the water, they swim happily and they go here and there, everywhere. But when the fate of time comes in the form of an eagle, Maharaj was observing that, a fish was swimming, going up and down. Suddenly this eagle comes and catches its neck by its feet, by its claws, right? Very firmly. And the fish was just struggling to get out of it, but it couldn't get out. So within 1 minute, its destiny changed completely. From a happy, frolicking fish to a dying, fish in just a matter of a split second. So similarly, our life is like that. Anytime, any day, it can just vanquish. Yeah? So blissfully unaware of this, the Grahamedi just goes on spending life on temporary things, and thinking that all these fallible soldiers of body will protect him, completely ignorant of the imminent death. Right? Yeah, please read.
This material world is called the world of death. Every living being, beginning from Brahma, whose duration of life is some thousands of millions of years, down to the germs who live for a few seconds only, is struggling for existence. Therefore, this life is a sort of fight with material nature, which imposes death upon all. In the human form of life, a living being is competent enough to come to an understanding of this great struggle for existence. But being too attached to family members, society, country, etc., he wants to win over the invincible material nature by the aid of bodily strength, children, wife, relatives, etc.
So he wants to win over invincible material nature. Mama Maya Durattaya, Krishna says. My material energy is formidable, very strong, invincible. Right? By the aid of what? Bodily strength, children, wife, relatives. How can they even protect them, right? Yeah. So continue, Mataji, here. Actually, there is important line here. Yeah.
Although he is sufficiently experienced in the matter by dint of past experience and previous examples of his deceased predecessors, he does not see the so-called fighting soldiers like the children, relatives, society members, and countrymen are all fallible in the great struggle. One should examine the fact that his father or his father's father has already died, and that he himself is therefore also sure to die. And similarly, his children, who are the would-be fathers of their children, will also die in due course.
Yeah, so human history proves this. Yeah? But foolish people try to establish their supremacy in various ways, without knowing how the material world functions. Yeah, so Prabhupada continues this thing. Okay, so any questions so far? I think we discussed a lot of practical points here. We'll end the class here after questions, if there are any. Anything? Anyone? Okay. If no questions, we'll end the class here. Okay. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.